Hey everyone, Cosmos here from Dollar Games. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Lord's Trial tips and tricks to maximize your rewards and your success. I've just finished publishing today an article on that on Dollar Games Wartune blog, and it's called as such. And I decided to make a video of it as well, especially for those people who prefer to listen to the video rather than read the article, for example. So the article is quite long because it's a featured article trying to explain a lot of parts about the Lord's Trial, and I'm going to explain it. I'm just going to use it as a guide for myself as well, so that I make sure that I explain you all the points. So the first thing, we're going to talk about three things: maximum keys per day, when to do sacrifice for maximum effect, and when to fight for maximum rewards. So if we come back to the game here, my character is currently blitzing, but we don't need him actually, so because the window we can open. And I've just gotten to stage 30, and I'll explain that for the third section of this topic. So the first topic is about the maximum. So when you go to the prey window, as you know, there are 5 cards, and a lot of the time you get one key when you pray or sacrifice, and then sometimes you get 2, and then sometimes you get more, or rarely you get more than 2. As far as I have managed to figure out, we have 2 different cases for sacrifice and prayer. So originally I thought that sacrifice can open 1 card or 2 cards, but actually I got confirmed that 3 cards are possible. It was from Michael, who sent me who posted a video on my post to show it to me, so thanks for that. So we know that sacrifice can open 1 card, 2 cards, or 3 cards. Of course, 3 being very rare, 2 being let's say average frequency, and most of the time we should expect 1 card. So that's sacrifice 1, 2, or 3. Prayer is a little bit different. Prayer can actually go up to 4, so that means one time you click on the pray, it can open up to 4 cards. Now maybe someone will have a case with 5, I don't know, nobody spoke about it so far, but I have done 2 updates on the article already, and 4 cards is confirmed. It's definitely possible to open 4 cards in one go, but of course that is rare. Even 3 is rare, so again, you should most of the time expect 1 or 2, and you get 3 prayers per day. It happens a lot that 2 out of the 3 prayers is only 1 card, and 1 of the 3 prayers is 2 cards. So everything else is usually a bonus. So then when it comes to the maximum, maximum is 15 cards. So actually it is possible that you open 5 cards 3 times in a combination of either 2 cards from prayer, 3 cards from sacrifice, 3 cards from prayer, 2 cards from sacrifice, or 4 cards from prayer and 1 card from sacrifice, for example. So it is possible to get 15. That said, I believe the average is 6 to 8, so maybe 7, what I would say is the average. So when you see players getting high ranking, so for example, this is up to Wednesday, I believe, this ranking which we're looking at right now. So this is 3 roles. So if we look at Linear, for example, who is currently ranked 1 on difficulty 1 here on my server, that means that he got an average of 10 keys per day. So that's pretty good if the average is 7. And you can see that it drops off. So of course that's let's say the most quote-unquote lucky person, because you do have influence on that luck, and that's what I wrote the article for as well, to help. But it drops quite fast because those cases are rare. And then you have the 8th rank already 25, and then there's a lot of 25s, 24s, then it starts getting more of the others. So and we'll also have similar cases in difficulty 3. We got 130 Marsha. He also has basically an average of 10, possibly more. It could be that he has kept an extra key or so. And in difficulty 2, so far on my server, nobody's at 30. It's also a choice, of course, which difficulty you go for, but that's another topic. So maximum is 15, believe it or not. So if you're getting 7, more than double of that is actually possible. So when do we sacrifice for maximum effect? And as I explained in the article, I will better first explain the mistakes, and then once you know the mistakes, then we can look at the most efficient ways, so in which you can support having a chance for better luck for yourself. So the first thing is using all 3 sacrifices on the first prayer. So let's say you go to pray, you have, let's say 3, you just opened it, you have 3 prayers, 3 sacrifices. You do start praying and you get 1 card, and then you say, I'm going to use all 3 sacrifices. That's probably the biggest mistake. As mentioned, the sacrifices can open up to 3 cards. So if you use 1 and let's say it gives 1 card, you still have 3 and you want to open the rest, but you're also sacrificing the next 2 prayers, which will not have any sacrifice support. So those are there are 2 negative consequences of that. So the next 2 prayers, but also that you definitely have you definitely have a possibility of burning cards. So for example, if the prayer opened the first card and then you did sacrifice and you opened 1 card, you have now 3 left. If you or let's say 2, for example, the prayer did 1, sacrifice did 2, and now you have 2 cards left. Now even already the second sacrifice could theoretically open up to 3 cards. So if it fills up all the 5 that you see, that means there could have been a 3 card sacrifice and you would have burned that card. Now in the case if it was one sacrifice, so 1 prayer, 1 sacrifice, and then you use 1 more sacrifice and you get 3 and 4, and now you have 1 card open and you use your last sacrifice for that, you can theoretically burn 2 additional cards. So it could have been a 3 card sacrifice, but there was only 1 place. So it just filled in that place, and you could have possibly burned up to 2 additional cards. So that's probably the biggest mistake, using all 3 sacrifices in the first prayer. Then in the second scenario, we have using a sacrifice on 1 prayed card. So in general this is bad, and this is when you have a prayer which gives 1 single key or card. And if you use sacrifice, if that's a bad sacrifice as well, like it was a bad prayer giving just 1 card, then you'll end up with just 2 cards open. And that's bad because if we go back and look at the rewards that I showed here, the 2 cards is a horrible reward. It's just 2 keys and 3 cast stones. It's not nice at all. So that's also not a good thing to do. So you want to avoid using, if your first prayer is 1 card, you probably want to end prayer and then go to the second prayer. Hopefully you get a better roll so that your sacrifices can help you get to this part, because you ideally do want to open 4 or 5 cards to also get star crystals, but also to get higher amounts of cast stones and more keys. So those are the 2, I would say, bigger mistakes that people can do, players can do. And so what do we do then? If prayer 1 gives 1 card, don't use any sacrifices. So that's I would suggest that as a rule. If prayer 1 gives prayer 1 and number 2, so if prayer 1 gives 1 card and prayer 2, second prayer gives 1 card, now based on the first rule, you cannot leave the 3 sacrifices for your third prayer. So then you are forced to use a sacrifice on the second prayer, which opened only 1 card. So that's the second rule over here that I explained, and there are 2 additional rules. So never use more than 1 sacrifice if you get 3-4 cards from prayer. Why? Because if you get 3 cards from prayer, the sacrifice can open up to 3 cards as well. Then if you use one sacrifice, you could open the 2 and get all 5, and you could burn one more card. So you should try to avoid cases where you could potentially burn a card. You want to get as many cards as possible, so that's a case you potentially want to avoid. And if prayer gives 2 cards, you can use 2 sacrifices only if the first sacrifice gives 1 card. So if you have a prayer and you have, let's say, a 2-card prayer, then as mentioned, sacrifice can go up to 3, although 3 is rare. So if we take the most common case where it'll open 1 or 2 cards. Now if you do first 2 cards prayer and the second sacrifice opens 2 cards, then you're at 4. 4 is already good. So if you use the second sacrifice on that just for 1 card slot, then you risk burning a card. So try not to do that. So those rules are just to help you do it in the most efficient way in order for you to get as many possible keys per day as you can, given the luck factor. So so that's that about when to use prayers and sacrifices and when not to use. So that's the second part of that bit. Now for the third part is when to fight in Lord's Trial for maximum rewards. Now in many parts of Wartune, for example in the catacombs, and generally in historically in Wartune, the way it is you have a ranking, and then somebody gets to, let's say in the catacombs, they get to, let's say 100, and then the second person who gets to 100 beats the first person who got there, so the second person becomes number 1, and the third person who gets to 100, they become number 1, and so forth. So the first person who was the real first or the fastest person who got to the rank number 1 in Wartune, at least historically, would suffer because he or she would get pushed down and down and down as newer and newer people reach let's say stage 100, if that was the maximum. Now Lord's Trial is different, and I've tested it out, and that's what I also share in the article, and I explain it here. So Lord's Trial is the total opposite. So once what I did is I gathered 30 keys, because I thought, okay, here was like 2 pages of level 30s cleared. So I thought, okay, I'll gather 30 keys, I won't do any battles, and then I will just, after them, I will do 30 battles, clear level 30, and jump up to rank 1. Well, that didn't happen. It put me right after the last level 30. So I actually got much lower ranking than what I would have had if I had used the keys immediately. Now, that's suggestion or tip number 1, is use the keys immediately in order to get to the highest ranking that you need to get. So for example, if you're targeting difficulty 2 for, let's say, rank 20, be the first person to get to rank 20. If you're targeting difficulty 1 or difficulty 3 for rank 30, try to get there as fast as you can. So because then if in this case, for example, linear is rank 30 visibly, so we had the reset, the daily reset just roughly 50 minutes ago, and so all the other people who will now hit level 30, they will not pass linear. So linear has guaranteed himself in rank number 1. And when we look at the rewards, the difficulty rewards for the best reward, they give it to the top 10. So ideally you want to reach to top 10 in any of the difficulties which you are doing or which you are interested in. And so that's what I did right now, and that's the part I'm explaining. That's the third part in the article. So as I say here, Lord's Trial specifically rewards those players who achieve the highest stage first. So, and when can you achieve, or how can you ensure that you're the fastest one? And actually it's an unfair way, but I'm sharing it with you guys anyways, because I know how to do it and I don't want to keep it secret just for my own benefit. And so what happens is, here you have your clock and you have your you should know your server's daily reset. So according to this clock, whatever is showing on your server on at 0000 is the daily reset. When the server resets, everything resets. That's an important point in the server, timing wise. And so at 00, let's say 1 minute after the reset, I don't remember it exactly now, but it doesn't matter. Just after the reset, you can do again everything. You can do all the activities, all the events, the blitz. Like right now I've put this guy on blitz, and I'm preparing this video for you. So you can do everything again. So that everything includes Lore's Trial. So you can pray quickly, and you will get you'll be the first person or among the first people on your server who will get those additional keys. So for example, let's say let me pick this case is a good case. So let's say this is difficulty 2, and let's say you are I don't know, you are Lotto, for example. So you're at 22, and so if you pray sacrifice, in basically if you do your Lore's Trial right after reset, then assuming you can get 8 keys, which is a good chance that you'll get 8 keys, because 7 I'd say is the average, then you could jump up to, and you could be the first person to get to rank 1, and that way you can ensure your top 10 rewards. And so that's unfair, because everybody cannot wait until the server reset. Everybody cannot be awake for the server reset. You got kids who sleep earlier. You got parents with jobs and so forth. So it's not always. I also am not always able to be at the reset today because I'm working more. I'm at the reset. So yeah, that's the situation. And so when you do that, so I did it in my case, and as you can see, it's showing here my ranking 44. Although you can see here clearly that stage 30 is completed. I have 2 additional keys. I cannot do more. It's already maxed out. And so the ranking is normally calculated once per hour. I saw it somewhere, yeah, here. Ranking refresh every hour. Although I tested it and it didn't really do that on another character. So although it says here it does that, and I think this is also the visual update. So I think the game knows who was the first person at any moment who got somewhere, and only maybe once an hour or once every 2 hours it will show us the positions. But if I got to 30 and somebody else, let's pick somebody else, like Merc, like if Merc here is at 25, he needs just 5 keys to get to 30, which is like pretty much guaranteed that you'll get that. So if after the reset, if Merc had read my article, let's say after the reset, he quickly did his keys and he did his runs and he got to 30 like I got here, and after him I did my runs and I got to 30, I'm sure the game knows. And so when there will be an update, now there could be an update, we're at 0055, so theoretically there could be an update in 5 minutes. I'll wait and show that to you guys if that happens, although like I mentioned it might not happen. Now then I'm sure the game knows that Merc would got to 30 before me. So now I'm at 30, and according to rankings I should be rank 2, but that's not the case. I also tested that on another test character. It was a situation pretty much like this. There was a person also at rank 1, and everybody else was not at everybody else was not at level 30. Then I quickly reached the level 30, and I thought I would be rank 2. I wasn't. I was like rank 5 or 7, I don't remember. And there were a bunch of people who had 30 before me. So that's within the first 15 minutes after the server reset. So there are some people who kind of like night owls who will do that, and there will be other people who will complain But I would not suggest that you complain against people or against or insult people. For sure, I don't support that, because it's not the player's fault how the game is designed. So for those people who have issues, well, send your complaints to the developers or to the publishers, but don't insult players. That's just my suggestion. Of course, you're free to do whatever you want to do. That's just my suggestion. So that's what I explained also in this third part, and yeah, that's the gist of it. It's a long article, and I just wanted to help everyone, because I saw and I heard people doing it, let's say, not well, and therefore you end up with less keys. So for example, if we take difficulty 1, there are some people at much lower rankings. Of course, that could be a carryover, like if somebody did 10 ranks in difficulty 2 and then jumped over, but that's also a mistake. Actually, I didn't mention that in the article, but that's also a mistake. I would not suggest that you do like 10 levels in difficulty 2, then jump and do 10 levels in difficulty 1, then jump and do 10 in 3, then come back and do 10 in 2. If you do that, you will guarantee that you will be the last one at the highest rank. So let's say you reached level 20, you will be the last person to reach level 20, because you are just slowly raising all 3 difficulties. And that's not a good way of doing it. What you should do is on Sunday or Monday, you should decide where you're going to be spending your keys. Now, here, calculator got maximized. So if we take the calculator, for example, and if we say 7 is the daily average, you have 7 days per week, you should expect 49 keys in 1 week. Let's call it 50. You should expect 50 keys in 1 week. So then plan where you want to invest those 50 keys, assuming of course you can beat, because lower bell rating players cannot beat all the stages of difficulty 3, let's say. So you should assume you have 50 keys, and then based on the 50 keys, say what you want to do. Let's say you say, okay, like in the case of Marcha, he decided to go to clear 30 levels of difficulty 3, which will leave him in average 20 additional keys for the rest of the week. He could invest, I know, I've spoken to Marcha, so I know, for example, that he will probably go for those 20 keys, he will go fully into difficulty 2, and he'll probably ignore difficulty 1. He doesn't like difficulty 1, but I don't particularly agree with him, but I understand the logic of his thinking. We discussed that topic together, but the point is not that. The point is you should have a plan of what you're going to do. And so let's say now, in my character's case, I went for 30 stages in difficulty 1, and then once I have that, and we should hopefully see in, well, now it's exactly on the hour, so we can see if it's still not updated. There, the Silphatol pop-up came up, which means the hour happened, let's say it like that, but the ranking hasn't yet updated. We'll keep looking at it for another minute, but I think it will not update. I think it's once every 2 hours perhaps. In any case, so what I will do is I will switch over to difficulty 2 or 3 based on my plan. I'm not discussing that at this point, but I'm not switching it just yet. I want to physically see my ranking here at, let's say, ranking 2 or ranking 5. Well, basically I want to be in top 10, right? So then I will reset possibly and switch over, or I will gather more keys and then reset. That doesn't really matter. The point is you should have a plan for spending your average 50 keys, which you should expect to get in a week, but you could get, of course, theoretically more. So if you get more, that's fantastic. So but you should make a plan for 50. Anything extra will be extra for you. And so don't raise equally all the 3 difficulties. So that was something I didn't cover in the article, so that's going to be a bonus section for the people watching this video. And just looking at the hour it's definitely 101, and it didn't update the ranking. So I'm not gonna sit and wait for another hour to watch this. For sure it will update, and then everybody who reached level 30 will appear here. So I think that was that. I think I covered all the points. Yeah, the rewards are listed here for reference as well, that I mentioned. Maximum I mentioned. The tips and tricks I mentioned. And then of course thanks to the people commenting, for example from the prayer 4 cards, the people were discussing here, and we had also a couple of comments on the Facebook page, so that's where we were able to confirm a bunch of cases. I also saw the video as I mentioned, and one of my characters got four cards from prayer as well, so I could also be super confident that that can happen, although since the beginning of patch 7.6 until now that had never happened to me, and I did try multiple characters, so that confirms that it's a rare, really a rare case. So I hope that will be interesting and useful for you guys, and that it will lead to better success for your Lord's Trial, so that you can get more rewards. And any other comments, please, if you have, please put them in the comment section below the video, or go to the article and post it in the comments here, or you can also post on the Facebook page. And otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this. Please do click on like and subscribe for the video if you did, and share with your friends so that they can benefit from this information as well. And if you enjoy my work, please consider to support via Patreon or several other ways. All the links are in the description of the video. The Wartune blog is at wartune.dollygames.com. My gaming portal is at dollygames.com. And yeah, all the links are in the description. So that's it. It's long enough video. Thanks for watching, and have a very nice day.